Hi everyone and welcome back. Today we're doing part 2 of the 3-part series on lock removal, repair and replacement. Today's video is going to be the side door locks, so we'll have a go at getting those out. That's this part here. Comes as a complete assembly in order to get the lock out. Now I'm going to do this in 3 sections, 1 part but 3 sections. First section will be removal. Second section will be lock cleaning and repairing, and then the third one will be putting the lock back into the car. Quite a number of people have requested this, but I'm not going to bother mentioning them all again. They were all mentioned in the first video. Quick look at the tools we're going to need today. First of all, we're going to need a small wrench, 1/4 inch wrench, with a 10mm socket on the end and a long extension bar. Second one, pair of long nose needle pliers will come in very useful. Oops. A pair of tweezers. You're going to need those to start disassembling the lock, all the little tiny springs and pieces. You'll need a tray to put all those little pieces into so you don't lose them. A small pick tool with a straight end on it. You're going to need a large hooking tool, something with a long shaft. The thickness of the shaft is not relevant, it's just the length you're going to need and the ability to hook around something. Then you've got 2 options. You can either use a screwdriver with a flat end or another sort of tool with some sort of screwdriver type spade end on to push some small pieces out the way. You'll need some graphite powder. We talked about this in part 1. You're definitely going to need that again for these locks on the side doors. You'll need some brake parts cleaner. The make is completely irrelevant. Ideally in an aerosol, it allows you to blast the muck out from the lock and get any oil out. And finally, some sort of penetrating oil. This one's WD-40, but it can be any penetrating oil at all, just to try and unseize some of the components. So before we get started, I wanted to explain to you that some of the parts in here are really difficult to see and video. They're really hidden up inside the bowels of the door. So what I'm going to do as we go through this is, as well as trying to video in those tight spots, I've also got a spare lock here, and I'll try and position that in a way that you can reference it in your mind as to what you're looking for. So let's get started with a job. Now, in order to get the lock out, the first thing you're going to have to do is remove your door trim from the inside of the door. Now this was covered in a previous video. I think it was door trim removal and repair or something like that. So if you refer to that video and remove your door trim from the inside, you'll also need to make sure your window is fully up. Other than that, you're ready to go. Oh, one final thing which I keep forgetting to mention. The door card should have, or the door panel should have, a plastic sheet that covers this entire area to stop drafts and damp getting into the car. This one has been torn out by a previous owner. You will need to tear yours in order to get inside. They are replaceable. You can get them from Mitsubishi, or you can just use a sheet of polythene and stick it down. Or if you're lucky enough, once you've seen how I do this, you might decide just to put a split in your existing panel, do the job and then tape it up. So with the door open, we've got to get to a few clips and bits. It's actually 2 bolts that hold the handle in and a couple of clips that hold the control lines in. Now, where do we start with this? I think we'll start with the little one. If I show you this lock, we need to get to these 2 clips here. Now these are right up inside the door up here, and there's 2 ways of gaining access. One is through the hole here, and one is up through the back of the panel here. Now because they're so tight in there, so far up into the back there, it's going to be difficult to video them. So what I'm going to do is show you what I'm doing first of all on the outside, and then we'll try and video from the inside. Now if you look closely at this clip, you'll see it's got a hole down the middle there. And normally there would be a rod similar to this that goes up through the middle and in through that hole to stop it coming out again. And then this is clipped down to hold it. So what we've got to do is push on that clip to remove it from the metal rod, and then we can pull the rod outwards. So let's try and tackle that one first. I'll swap places with the cameraman, switch on a little light in here in case it helps at all, and let's see if we can get that one. So what we can try and do, either use a screwdriver or a flat bladed tool. You may be able to get in through the hole here and push it away, but for this particular clip I prefer to go in through the side panel, around the back and onto the clip there. I don't know if the camera is able to get a look at that. And all we need to do is push it back, and you see it pop off there. Take the tool out, and now you can get your hand in, hopefully, oops, and just pull that wire rod out. Easy as that. That's the first one out the way. I'll just grab this torch back, put that back up there, and now hopefully we can get to the second one. Now the second one I'm going to use the hook tool for, and I'll show you again on here. What we need to do with this one is, you'll see at the top there, it's one side of the clip inside the other, and to pull the two apart you need to get on there, if I can hold this, and just unclip it there. I don't know if you see that. I'll try it one more time. Get the tool in there and it pops apart. Once it's apart, it will allow you to pull the metal rail out. So let's have a go at that one. For this one I go in through the little hole on the side, and unfortunately I'm fighting with the camera here to see what I'm doing. I don't think we're both going to be able to get in there at the same time.
I have it.
You have it, I can't see what I'm doing. There we are. Just. No, I'm sorry, I can't see with the camera in the way. Okay, there it is. Pop that apart. Now we can turn the hooking tool round and push the rod out. Okay, that's free. So now the next part of the job's much easier. You're going to need your 10mm ratchet or wrench, depending on what you call it in your country. We'll start round the side of the door here. We have one nut round, or one bolt round the side, 10mm. Just undo that one. And I'll just put that up there for now. And now we need this access hole again, and if you look through the access hole, the bolt that you need is directly in front of you. So you're going to go straight onto that bolt through the hole and undo that bolt. Now what you're going to need to do with this one is put your hand around the back and hold on to the bolt so you don't drop it when you undo this. You'll still be able to get it out from the bottom of the door. It's just easier if you haven't got to go hunting. So there we go, that's that. Now we go to the outside of the door to remove the handle. Now this seems a bit of a tricky process, because if you try to pull it out, you'll see it won't come. What you need to do is lift up the handle, bring out this side of the door first, and then turn as you go for the rest of it. And then the handle's out complete. So that completes the first part of this section. Now we're going to cut the video. I'm going to go over to a more suitable workbench, and then we'll deal with dismantling the lock. Okay, so back at a little work area, we're ready to get started on the job. Now if you come in for a second and look closely at this, you can see why this lock's having problems if we can get it in the light. Because of where it is, all the water and crap all gets in there and blocks it all up. And people also spray WD-40 in there, and although that initially frees up the lock, what it actually then goes on to do is go sticky and hold more crap in the lock. So then you're spraying more WD-40 and taking more crap, and it's a never-ending circle. So that's why we're now going to strip this down, clean it all up and put it back together. So you start the job, we need to remove the lock from the handle. To do that, we've got a little circlip here. Just get a good probe in there, watch it doesn't ping off anywhere, and gently prise it out, like so. Put that in your little tub so you don't lose it. Then we're going to lift off this piece here, it's not attached to anything. And then we've got a spring here. Now to do this one, it's got two ends to it. Might be easier to just, twist the spring, unhook it, let it come round, and then unhook the other side. Now the final part before we can get the lock out is this retainer here. So that's quite simple. Just again, lever it out, get one side first, stick your pick in there, lever out the other side, and then you can use your fingers to get that off. Now from this point, the lock assembly will come out, and we can put that to one side. And yet again, it gives you an even better look at how filthy these things get over time. We'll make that look like new in a minute. So first from this point is getting off this cover here. This will allow us to get out the main mechanism. You can use a little tiny flathead screwdriver or the pick tool. Now what you don't want to do is bend this metal beyond the circle arch of the unit itself. So just gently, very, very gently, just lever that out a little bit at a time until you get just enough to open this up. Turn it round, same on the other side. Now hopefully we can just wiggle that off. No, a bit more on this side I think. Okay, that's that one off. Now we can pull out the main lock mechanism, and I can feel that is like so tight in there, it's totally gummed up. So just pull that out. Now here's where you see the next lot of problems. You see here these keys. Now they should all be the same height on both sides, and you can see that some are stuck in, some are partly out. And that shows that the lock is all gummed up. See, I pushed that one in and it stayed in. They should ping straight back out. That one partly does. The others are totally gummed up. Ah, that one works. We've got one, two. So now we've got to get it apart. And while they're all stuck like that, you're really going to struggle to get them out. So what we're going to do now is grab our little tub, put all the bits in there, and give them a good soak in WD-40 for a little while. Now I know I said WD is not the stuff to use, but it's fine for cleaning the lock. Once it's all freed up and taken apart, we'll clean all the WD-40 out. Okay, so I'm going to cut the video, I'm going to leave that for a little while and then come back to it. Okay, so the lock's had a little while now to settle. Hopefully some of the penetrating oil's got in there. And what you can do now is just agitate some of these little keys a little bit. And as they free up, it will allow us then to disassemble the lock completely and clean it all inside. You see more and more of these now are popping out where they should be, and I know many of you now will be tempted to just put the lock back together and say it all works again, but believe me, you'll just have problems again in a few weeks. So now we start by pulling these out. Now I'm hoping you all watched my previous video where I said that all of these keys have to be kept in order, so you'll notice one is nearer to the front than the other one. I didn't keep my piece of paper, but that will be my number one, the one nearest to the front. Just give it a good wiggle and it should eventually pull out. So there's one. Now when you pull this out, just watch out for the spring behind, a little tiny spring. That's number one. Then the next one, lift it out nice and gently. That'd be number three. Number five. And number seven. Then on this side, that'll be number two. Four. Six. It's a windy day today, I hope these don't blow away. And 8. Now we next take out all the little springs. Sometimes for this it's easier to use a little tiny pick tool. Just watch you don't ping them out anywhere. 1. All of these are the same, they're not in any particular order. Turn the lock round. Okay, now we'll try and scrape out as much of this muck as possible. Look at all that disgusting stuff. And then on the front here we've got a spring behind here that holds this closed. To get that one out, we'll just lift off the front, watch very carefully that nothing pings out. This spring here, and again that's all gummed up. People have sprayed grease in there, which is not necessarily the best thing for a sensitive lock mechanism. And now I'm just going to use a paintbrush, a toothbrush and some WD-40 to clean this out properly. And the cleaner you get it this time, the longer it'll last before you have to do it again. And the best thing of all is you're going to save yourself a lot of money. So that looks pretty good. We'll clean all the other bits as well while I'm here. Okay, that's all of those parts. Now we need to clean all these little keys here. Now, technically I could spray a bit of WD on there and slowly clean each one with my fingers or with a toothbrush, but quite often you find there's some really hard deposits build up on there. So what I've found easier recently is to use a super fine piece of wet and dry paper, say a 2000 grit, and some WD-40. So if you just give me 1 second. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. A little bit of WD-40 on there. And it's no more than a quick rub on each side. You don't want to wear away any of the keys. And it brings them up like brand new brass all over again. And you're going to see when we put this back together that everything runs so much smoother. Do not rub it too long because you definitely don't want to wear away any of the brass. And you also don't want to get these keys in the wrong order, because then you'll find your lock doesn't work. I try to be as prepared as possible during these videos, but sometimes I just forget things, and today I forgot my little piece of paper that I mark up with each of the keys. So there we go. Now we'll rag and we'll clean each of these and put them in a clean place. It's okay. Okay. Right, now we start with our barrel. Going to need some brake cleaner, and you're going to have to blast any oil and muck out of there. Make sure it's absolutely pristine clean. Dry it off. I like to use brake cleaner because we've got the pressure, but it also dries very, very quickly and doesn't leave any residue. That all looks nice and clean. Now this piece, I can see some more muck in there that we missed. Okay, now we're going to start the reassembly with the cover at the top. Okay, so for the top we're going to need these three pieces here. We've got this spring, we've got this cover, and then the final cover to go on top. So bit by bit we'll clean them and put them in. Start off with a spring. And this goes in here, this way round. Next piece is this. Just wipe that off. And that goes this way round. And the final bit is the cover. Now I've got to put something heavy in here, the wind's blowing everything away today. Now with this cover you'll see that there's two little lugs down here that hold it on. Because we had to bend one out to get it off, just pinch them in very slightly just so it has a good grip when you put it on. And now you need about 15 fingers, because what you've got to do is hold down this spring and the little cover and get this on top all in one go. And it's a bit of a juggling act. So I may not be able to get this accurately on video. You'll have some fun watching this, I'm sure. I'm sure someone will tell me there's an easier way. In fact, there must be an easier way. I've probably dropped a bit. Problem when you do a video that isn't a professional video is sometimes you can tell it's not professional. But some people have told me that this is how they prefer it, because this is real life, and if everything looks really perfect on video, then you think you've got it wrong. And I still missed that. Let's see if we can get that in. I think that's got it. Just a quick test. That's it. So that should spring it up and down like that. So that's got that one. And just as an extra security, I'm just going to push that in a little bit more. Same on this side. Okay. Now don't worry if that looks a little bit wobbly, because we've still got the final cover to go on that will hold it in place. Right, now we've got to identify where each of the keys go. Now if you remember, of the slots, we've got one nearer to the front than on the other side. So you can identify each one with a little hole at one end, so it's a straight line and then a hole. And if you look on this side, this one is nearest to the front. So one by one we're going to pick up the springs, and you've got to put each one into one of the little round holes. I'm going to do all of them on this side first, and you need to be really careful with these because they ping off so easily. Take your time and drop each one in one at a time. Four. Okay, now here's where the magic comes in. This is what's going to give your lock a long life. You need your graphite powder. You can get this from almost any locksmith, I should think. And you need to put in plenty to cover all of the holes. And now we're going to pick up our keys. So this was my number one. We're going to drop that into the hole. Number 3, number 5, and number 7. And you see each of them works perfectly now. Now we're going to turn the lock over, but now you've got to be really careful because you don't want all these bits dropping out. So stick a finger underneath to hold it. And now we're back with the springs. Same process as the other side. This is a job for someone with a steady hand, and that's something I don't have. The other thing I don't have, there it is. Yeah, I thought I'd lost one then. That was a bit of a panicking moment. Okay, and now the keys again. I think we might just shove a little bit more powder in there just to be sure. So we have 2, 4, 6, and 8. Okay, final test. You can see every single one of them is now equally springing out. Just get a rag. Now we're going to put it back into the barrel. Now just got to remember which way round this goes. Okay, so we've got a little cutout around here, and on this one we've got a bit that sticks out a bit further, so it's going to go this way round, I believe. And I forgot to get the key. The easiest way to put these in is to use a key, so if you just give me a second. Now that we have our key, if you gently slide the key into the lock, it will hold all of these pins in for you. It saves you having to do them manually one at a time. So once again, this little keyway here has to go onto this side. Slide it all the way in, and now you can check that your lock all runs smoothly. Take your key out. Now we're going to put on the final cover. Now you'll see that there's one side that has quite a deep indentation compared to the other side. The deep indentation lines up with one of these that sticks higher up than this one. So we turn that round, we put this cover on, and now we can use our pick to just push the two wings in, one on each side, just a little bit, just so that no longer comes off and everything's held securely. Another check with a key. Everything works fine. Key out. Now we're ready for the final assembly. So for this, we now put the lock back in. Like so. To hold this in place, we'll need this clip here. And we're going to open this up because you want each of these little marker points here, one on each side. So we'll go over the top there, around the back. Oh, it's a windy old day here. I think you just about see that clip in. Now the lock is secure. Next piece is this spring here. Dry that up. And with this one, what we're going to do is, whoops, wrong way over. Or is it wrong way round? One spring goes in there. You're going to need your pick tool to clip that in. Follow the other one round. Bring it round like so and clip that one in that side. All nice and secure. Another check with a key. Now everything springs back as it should, and I bet many of you have gone many a year without seeing that happen. Next piece is this. Now this one tells us which way round because you'll see there's a keyway here. So that goes on there. And then finally we've got our little circlip. Now sometimes you can push these on by hand, sometimes they're a little too tight. So just poke that on with whatever tool you've got to hand, like so. I brought these in case I needed those. Sometimes it's easier with a pair of needle nose pliers. So there we go, that's the lock, all assembled, serviced and running absolutely like new again. Now for part 3, we'll take it back to the car and put it back on the car. So now we begin reassembly. Now this is pretty much the reverse of taking it apart, nice and simple. But many of you have probably shut your car door now and there's no way of getting in because the handle's in your hand. You could go around the other side, assuming you didn't leave your doors locked, but if you need to get in from this side, it's not a problem. If you come in here, this little lever here that's sticking up, just press down on it and your door will come open. Okay, so to get the handle in, lift up here, start off at this angle, get in these two pieces first, then you wiggle it so this one will go under. Now you can slide the lock and rotate it into position. Easy peasy. Open your door. To stop the lock falling out, we're going to start with a bolt on the side here. Line up your hole, and you'll need to do that as tight as you can with your fingers, but don't do it up with your wrench just yet in case it needs to maneuver into position anywhere. Then you get your second bolt, 10mm socket, and this is easier with two hands because you're going to slide it through the hole, and then you want your other hand to guide it into the screw hole. You can just about see through the gap there where that needs to belong. Just want to check that I got it in the thread properly. Don't want to cross thread it. Okay, and again, do that up as tight as you can with your fingers. Now your wrench, do up the side one first, and then go through and do up the other one. Okay, now it starts to get really super complicated because you've got to go into a hole that you're not familiar with. Where did I put my torch? Are you sitting on my torch? You've got to go into a hole that you're not familiar with and fit parts that you're not 100% sure how they go. So the secret is, first of all, you're going to do the one that's highest and most to the back. I'm just trying to find a way of getting this torch in.
Do you not want to check that the handle is lined up on the outside of the body first?
There's no need.
Do they only have one setting?
Yep, it's all keyed.
Okay, so I just cut out this bit, that's why I paused before saying it.
Yeah. That way. When you're ready. Okay, so this is the one we're going to start with. You're going to have to bring the rod into alignment, push it in between those two wings there until it goes through into that hole. Now you're pretty much going to have to feel your way around here. You can see through the hole to a degree, but only to a degree. Okay, I've got it. And you will be able to line it up. And of course you'll know if you've got it wrong because you've got the benefit of this video that shows you where it should go, and if it doesn't feel right, take it out and try again. Okay, that feels about right. Hopefully that'll clip in now. Okay, that's in. Now once it's in, you've got to bring these two wings back together to clip them. So you're going to get hold of the back one, pull it forward until the two clip together like that. Okay, clipped in nicely. Now we're on to this purple one. Now you need to turn the purple rod out the way first, the purple clip out the way first, because you're going to put the rod in through the hole first. Once the rod's in, you're then going to bring this down and clip it around the rod. Again, you can just about see through the hole there if you sort out your lighting properly. I've got to find my little rod, which is right there. Bring that up. push it into the hole, bring the purple clip down and clipped on. Easy as that. So that, I believe, pretty much concludes this job. We can give it one final test if I run and get the key, because I forgot the key again. Just give me a moment. Oh no, sorry, the key's in the lock. So there we go, open and closed, no problem. From the outside, look. Just as it should be. So with that video concluded, in part 3 we'll cover the ignition barrel and key, how to remove those, how to replace them, how to service them, and then you'll have a new lock set in no time. So I hope you're happy with this video. I hope it helps you out quite a bit. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to my channel. Give me a thumbs up to say you like it, and if you click on the little bell once you're subscribed, you'll get automatic updates for all the new videos that are coming ahead of today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.